Now, you probably know I'm a very, very happy client of Dan White and Associates. Dan White and Dan Simon and Andrew Wood and all these folks who work there. Allison, yes, so many great people who work at Dan White and Associates. They specialize in retirement income planning. And every Wednesday, right after the news at 1:30, we have one of these fellows call in. Actually, we ought to get Allison on sometime. We have one of these folks calling in from Dan White and Associates, just to talk about what's happening in our world, and also maybe some advice, some tips, and things like that. Today, it's Dan Simon in the Middletown office. Hello, Dan. How you doing?
Hey, Rick. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well. The number one topic really right now is these banks and these very unique situations of the bank in New York and then the Silicon Valley Bank. What's going on? What are the conversations in your industry?
Yeah, so Silicon Valley Bank obviously is kind of the buzz in the industry right now, with them essentially failing last Friday. And kind of everything that I've read and kind of my perspective on things is, they made a very elementary mistake. I mean, a fundamental rule when it comes to banking, they neglected to address it. They were borrowing money in the short term and investing in the long term, and as we all know, over the last year and a half with inflation, the Fed has jacked up interest rates significantly to fight inflation, and that had an impact on the valuation of these funds. Bank clients, were looking to access funds from their accounts depositors, and essentially a situation where they didn't have cash on hand to cover withdrawals. Liquidating those bonds that they held. They were selling them at a loss position. And it's something that really should have never occurred, but they were just taking more risk than they should have by going out long duration on those bonds.
Thing is, though, as I understand, this is a very unique bank. It's there in Silicon Valley. You have these, high-rolling tech investors who are dumping the money in this particular bank because they know each other. They only had like 37,000 depositors or something. They're getting money from these venture capitalists, and that's where their loans came from. So they dumped the money into this Silicon Valley Bank. Then the bank said, "Oh, okay, you need a loan. I'm going to loan you money at 5.38% or something like that." But very few people needed the loans from the bank itself because they were being funded by the venture capitalists. And then what you were saying, to put a finer point on this, you got the long-term, hold-to-maturity bonds, and you got the short-term bonds. And just like what you said, maybe you can help us understand this even more fully. So they buy these long-term, let's say, 20-year bonds or something, or 10-year bonds, and they're paying, like, say, 2.5%. Well, now you can get the same bonds, they're paying like 5%. So people are taking money out because the tech sector is, well, it's tanking, really. I mean, they've laid off, tens of thousands of people. Another 10,000 people are going to be laid off from Meta. And so the bank had to cover that somehow. And I guess what you're saying is they had to sell these long-term bonds. But if you've got a long-term bond, like, say, let's say, 15 years or something, that's paying 2.5%, nobody wants to buy that. So they have to sell them cheap.
So you're selling on the cheap. And, ironically, I mean, most people probably hadn't even heard of Silicon Valley Bank until last week.
Yeah.
The reality is it's the 16th largest bank in the world. Again, they've got massive inflows of capital from, the tech world out there. But interestingly enough, there was a kind of survey done on the banks in the United States that hold deposits over and above the $250,000 FDIC and protection. And there's several of them. I mean, they're pretty eye-opening, some of the names that those deposits were over that. Well, 94% of the deposits at Silicon Valley Bank were in excess of that $250,000 limit.
Yeah.
The highest bank in the country.
Yeah, and by the way, it only got to that point after 2020. That growth was between 2020 and 2021. All these people got the PPP money and all that kind of stuff, and they just dumped it in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the Fed's stepping in and backing them, but it should be a wake-up call for a lot of other banks out there that are extending themselves out potentially more than they should at this point, especially with the volatility in the interest rate environment that we've seen over the last year or so.
So the good news for us here in Delaware, especially, for example, is this is a very specialized kind of bank, and other banks, you don't have other banks like around here doing that sort of thing. Also, what I like to call Barney Frank's crypto bank. Barney Frank was, I believe, the architect of the 2008 crash. He was on the board of this crypto bank in New York, but they had something like 38% of their investments were in cryptocurrency. I don't think any other bank is doing that, at least not around here, are they?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I mean, we don't really get into the crypto space too much, but to the best of my knowledge, no. It's a risky move, even for an individual. For a bank, it's a huge risk.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, I'd like to be able to see, maybe, I guess you call your bank and say, hey, Kay, let me see your 10K report, and let me see something that shows how much money you got in crypto, What else? I don't know what else you do.
If they'll share it with you, right?
Yeah, well, there's that. Well, what are you saying to your clients about all this?
I mean, it's, again, this is a specialized case, but, you don't want to see the fallout hit other regional banks, obviously. So, the idea is make sure you're comfortable with who you're banking with. If you've got multiple bank accounts and you're carrying cash over the FDIC limits, spread it out. I mean, the FDIC is there for a reason, but to carry, balances over and above the FDIC limit in one bank, it should be a wake-up call for people. That protection's there for a reason. Take advantage of it.
So where else can you go? Let's say someone's got more money than that. Like say they got more than $750,000. They got 3 banks. Where else do you go that's safe?
Well, another option is obviously utilizing insured contracts.
Yeah.
If you're done on the banking side, you can utilize insured products such as fixed annuities. It's an option there. I mean, there's money market funds as well. We go back to 2008, 2009. That was an issue there from a liquidity standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But spread the money out around the banks if you're looking to just keep it liquid in cash, and make sure that you're not creeping above that FDIC limit in the event that this turns out to be worse than what it already is.
What about the insurance contracts? There's guarantees there too, right?
There are. On a fixed annuity, you're looking at a vehicle similar to a CD, typically earning you a little bit more interest, and even taking it a step further and potentially utilizing those to provide you with a guaranteed lifetime income stream, which a lot of people are looking for in retirement these days, specifically with kind of the disappearance of pensions. People retire with a chunk of money, and they're looking at it for it to create income for them, or a paycheck, playcheck, so to say, in retirement. And that's one of the benefits on that side of the business.
Okay, appreciate it, Dan. What's going on Sunday mornings, 7 a.m. on the money with Dan White? So you know what Dan's going to be talking about?
I know he's going to be talking. I'm not sure exactly what the conversation is. But
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be timely in discussing a lot of things that are going on in the.
It will, yeah, and how to protect for that and protect your assets as well. You can give him a call at 888-690-8200. So give Dan White and Associates, give him a call anytime you like. And they're in Middletown, and they're over just over the border, Glen Mills as well. So what's your Middletown office number there? Or is it the same as the 800 number?
Same one. Connects us to all the offices. You got it.
All right. Good enough. Appreciate it. So.
All right, Rick. Yep. Take care.
Be well. All right. 302-529-1017 is our phone number. And by the way, it's 888-690-8820 for Dan White and Associates.